Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to interview Sofiah Thom. She's the owner of Danyasa Eco Resort and Retreat Center in Dominical, Costa Rica. And we will actually be leading a 7-day training retreat this coming December 29th through January 4th. So it's actually crossing over the new year, which is a really special spot. And we're just so excited to be coming to Danyasa. So I feel really fortunate to be able to have Sofiah here because we're going to dive into a lot of the culture that she's created there, some of the reasons why I selected and chose that facility to have this retreat, and just a little bit about her work. So Sofiah, I'd love to just welcome you to introduce yourself and kind of your background and what you're up to in the yoga world, because you have a beautiful yoga facility. I know you have a really strong anchor in just leadership, with divine feminine leadership and yoga. But yeah, feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Summer. Yeah, hello everybody. First of all, I'm just so excited to host you guys and meet you in the flesh. I'm so inspired by all that you're creating. Yeah, for me, I've lived here in Costa Rica, gosh, since 2007, so a while. And my husband and I actually built Danyasa Eco Retreat from the ground up. He's a builder. I'm a visionary, a dancer, a yogini, and we are a powerful couple. We have co-created a lot, and I would say, as you know, really in speaking about the culture of Danyasa and what we've created there in the heart of this little cute beach town, Dominical, is not only just Danyasa, but we actually co-founded Envision Festival. That was sparked from our wedding, which was 15 years ago. And so the first Envision Festival actually happened on our property before we were fully built out. But really, creating Envision and bringing the culture of transformation, transformational retreats, transformational festivals, bringing people together to be in their bodies, to reconnect with nature, to connect with their own essence and creativity and flow, which Costa Rica, if you haven't been here, it is so fertile and in the jungles, like everything is just so alive. And so it brings all of us more alive in our bodies, in our presence, in our creativity. And so, yeah, the culture of Envision has really put Dominical and Danyasa on the map. Yeah, we no longer produce, that was a lot of work, but we were able to then really build out Danyasa and create such a beautiful hub in the heart of this little beach town and really transform it. I mean, when I moved here, it was only like, it was a drinking bar town, like surf town. And I was so lonely. I was just like so isolated. I come from San Francisco where I was like teaching yoga and dance and like fully immersed with like-minded people. And then I moved here and yeah, I really feel like thanks to my husband as well, who's been here 35 years, that we've really helped to pioneer this whole zone. And so many more people have moved here, and there's beautiful ecstatic dances and retreats and workshops and everything happening everywhere. I still like pinch myself, just like, is this really true? Has it really like happened in this beautiful way? So yeah, our sanctuary, Danyasa, I mean, it really is this beautiful little sanctuary in the heart of the town. So you get kind of the both of best worlds. Is that even a saying? But best of the both worlds, where it's like you can walk around, you can go to the shops and restaurants, walk to the beach. It's like 3-minute walk to the beach. But then you also are completely immersed in the way that my husband built out all the jungle inside our sanctuary. Everything's built from upcycled shipping containers. So it's really sustainable, but very comfortable. We both actually really like luxury. So it's like this eco meets luxury space of like, okay, you've got like the best air conditioners, sustainable air conditioners, and like 1,500 count sheets, best mattresses. And then the studio is to die for. I'm a little biased, but I created something that I wanted to dance in and be in, and it really like you walk in and everyone's always just like like gasping. It's like you can't actually tell from the pictures or the video, until you walk into a space and feel the energy and everything that has happened there. Like the deep transformational work that has happened there is so powerful. We have hosted so many retreats and trainings since 2008. And, it really is this beautiful kind of almost like womb space, or this, this space for deep transformation to happen. We've got a wall of mirrors where like netted in, so, you don't get the mosquitoes, but it's like open air. We have the best sound system, beautiful hardwood floors that you can slide across, and all the props. And yeah, it's a big open space for you to play in and connect to your inner warrior. So that's what I'll share for now. There's so much.
You're definitely really good at describing it, and I can tell that you have such a passion for like building that space
Mm,
and kind of anchoring and being like a place where people can come and really create the culture of dance and yoga, embodiment, empowerment. And I
yeah.
actually, so funny story, I went to Envision many, many years ago, and I also
Okay.
went to Dominical and stepped foot in your facility and saw the sprung floor studio space. And this was probably about, I want to say like 8 years ago when it was still kind of small, like
Okay.
the town was still kind of small. And I'm sure that it's grown a ton back then. But I do remember going there and being like, wow, this is like such a small little, like off the beaten path location, like nobody knows about. And then it's got that beautiful
Mm,
right there as well.
I love
So
it.
Sophia, you and I, the reason I actually even came across your retreat center, I saw this image of Sophia and she was fully decked out in like warrior goddess. uh, I don't even know if it was costuming, but it was like fur and metal, like I don't even know how to describe.
Chains, a chain bra, fur.
Face shot. She had a sword. She had some like white like face paint, and she just was looking fierce. And I was like, okay, I need to meet this woman. I need to reach out to her. So I think I was on a trip somewhere, and I was just like, I remember being in the hotel and just like messaging you, and you got back to me, and you're like, yeah. And I was like, we're looking for a new spot to do our New Year's retreat. We've done Thailand for the past 2 years. We want to switch it up. We'd love to come to Costa Rica. And I just felt this like immediate alignment just from the imagery of her embodied practice. And then I did a little more research and found out that she has a teacher training for the temple body arts, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Temple
would love
body
to
arts. Yeah.
learn a little bit more about your background and what you're teaching,
Mm,
because it's not every day I come across a yogi with such a just striking presence in the whole like embodiment of a warrior huntress or goddess or however you want to identify.
mm.
But yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you. Yeah, so that actual image, so I teach a lot about Hindu goddess culture, like from through the yoga lens. So one of the goddesses that I embody and bring through and help other women to really activate and awaken is Durga, which I also call graceful warrior. But Durga is the Hindu goddess. She is the one that rides the tiger or the lion, and she's like the full warrior goddess of protection and strength and power. And in my own work in the last 20 years, I've really developed, even before I actually knew about this mythology of these Hindu goddesses, I was already teaching about the graceful warrior. So when I found Durga, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is already alive in me. And the graceful warrior is really the one that is connected to not only her feminine, but her masculine principle. And I'm not talking about gender, but really, like, in order for us to be fully empowered and creating the life that we truly desire here, we have to have a balance of the masculine and the feminine. So I teach a lot about structure and cutting through and having focus, which is all of the Shiva, the masculine principle, and then the feminine being able to be in that flow and be in the creativity. And so it's been really powerful to bring through and work with actually the sword, as well, to in my workshops and in my teacher training. So I have a temple body arts yoga teacher training, which is a branch of my mystery school. So I have a full mystery school, which means really that I am like temple body arts is really about the bridge of like temple being the spiritual aspect, body being like the sensual aspect, and arts being the creative. And so it's about bridging all of these and recognizing the power that lives within us, like beyond ourselves. So I like to call it divine creative spirit. And so supporting women, especially, in really rising into their leadership, into their embodied, empowered, and expressed leadership. And the yoga teacher training so weaves in the graceful warrior, like through the lens of yoga. So I'm teaching them how to become yoga teachers, but with some expressive healing arts and dance, and then even some like sword play, really, I would say, having each woman, like I'm guiding through a full dance journey to activate these, this archetype, really, the graceful warrior archetype, that power that women need to feel. And I'm sure, with the work you're doing too, I feel this similarity of like, as soon as you hold that tool in your hands, something happens. I was actually listening to an interview with you and Mark, and he was saying how you guys broke all of these tools. And I was like, oh my God, the last training I did, I gave them my sword, my huge sword. And it's not sharp, it's a dancing sword. And I have this huge mat. And, so I'm guiding them, and each person gets to hold the sword and like do a full expressive dance in the middle. And you never know what's going to happen. And oh my God, there was a few moments that they actually sliced the mat. And I was just like, thank God the mat's there protecting the floor. But I was like, my poor mat. Anyway, something happens, when we're able to hold that sacred tool and feel the power of that. Like that is power that actually lives within us. And so, yeah, I just absolutely love the transformational, deep embodiment work that I get to bring through with, yeah, so many women stepping into their power and leadership. So, yeah.
I have so many questions, and I definitely hope that you have some swords when we come to Costa Rica to check out. I know Mark has a whole sword collection. He
Oh,
collects
wow.
all different parts of the world and all different cultures, and he has them all hung on like a wall. But there's like there's like 40 swords, and
Wow.
did a little sword fighting before I got really into Mace. He taught me some just sword fighting. We were doing the sword fighting, and a lot of the work that we do with the Mace is these blocking patterns and these striking patterns. And so
Mm,
the difference, I think, with the Mace, and then we also work with staff. This is staff. Um, but at the retreat, we do plan to do a lot of hand-to-hand combat, and we take everyday people that have never touched a staff, and we teach them just basic, very basic striking and blocking drills. And something happens, you're right, when there is that actual moment of contact, you get into flow state. You have nothing else around you that really matters except protecting your head from something that is flying at you. But yeah, I'm just super excited to just hear more
mm,
about your work and learn about it. But I will agree that anytime we take people through this immersion, it's usually like a 6-day immersion. This one happens to be seven days. This is our longest retreat we've done. But we basically take everyday people that may have a little bit of experience with Mace or clubs. Sometimes people have literally zero experience, and we teach them the basics. We teach them the foundations. We drill through the steel mace, which I have a couple on the floor here, the clubs, the staff, and we kind of cycle through those 3 modalities. And we don't stay on one modality too long. We usually do maybe like 30 minutes of staff every morning to wake up. I imagine we'll probably go out to the beach and do the hand-to-hand combat
oh,
out there
yeah.
because it's beautiful with the sun rising.
Mm,
Go right into a heavy club session and then follow it up with steel mace. And so each of these tools has a different level of complexity. So the staff is really light. It's going to be really, really fast. So it's like kind of like your cardiovascular, but also like a lot of fast twitch, a lot of, hand-eye coordination happening with the staffs. And we have
mm,
several different drills we put them through. Then we switch gears into the heavy club, which is like slow and strength building. And so then after
mm,
go into the steel mace vinyasa, which is a lot of footwork, a lot of the like warrior asana, load it with load. Like the traditional warrior one, for example, is like a blocking position. And so by cycling through these 3 modalities in such a like very consciously programmed way, we're able to get people out of their front brain, like turn off the inner critic, get out of their analytical thinking and just get straight
mhm.
into flow state and really ramp up their confidence and their embodiment. And I like to take pictures of people at the beginning and then after, and they'll like be holding their mace, and I'll compare and contrast the pictures after like 7 days of training. And you see the embodied warrior. You see their posture is like taller, their face, their eyes are more relaxed. because there's so many decisions that need to be made in this retreat with the striking and the blocking and the hand-to-hand combat piece. But you literally see a shift in people's like physiology and their body and their eyes and even sometimes the way they speak too. It's pretty wild.
Mm, I love it.
I'm
Oh,
curious. I'm curious what kind of things come up for your ladies or men, whoever comes to your teacher trainings.
yeah. I mean, actually, it's all women. So it's a journey into the feminine mysteries, it's called. So we work a lot also with the cyclical wisdom of the womb and how to really design yoga flows for that. But then I also have a whole leadership program that's not even yoga. And I would say with all of it, I mean, yeah, absolutely. When you're saying like the before and after and the confidence and especially with the yoga teacher training, like they're learning to teach. So they have to stand up in front of everyone and also teach and use their voices. And so the amount of transformation that happens from the beginning to the end of just like showing up and doing it again and again and getting more into their bodies every day in all different ways. And yeah, so I have like a graceful warrior series, it's called. So it's like moving from, say, warrior two, into like, yeah, coming back here and then like flowing through. It's like a whole kind of dancing sequence, like within warrior two, that you're kind of exploring. So I love that we both have that unique and kind of creative way of like tapping into these, yeah, the ancient art of yoga and these postures, but then bringing these other ways to really invite people to get into that flow state. I love that you said that. It's actually been like my thing for 2025, even like from Christmas on, it's just been like in the flow. Like we're just in the flow. And I feel like these retreats and trainings allow people to connect in with that. And it sounds like yours really does too, of like, yeah, just getting into that flow state and getting out of the busyness and the mind and the stress and just like the magic that can come when we really bring ourselves into somewhere, well, as magical as Costa Rica. But then you're in your body and you're connected to nature and you're literally rewiring. We're rewiring our brains and our bodies and the way that we're showing up and the way that we're moving through the world. So, my background's also in dance therapy and expressive healing arts. And so I can imagine the similarity because in dance therapy, we say, that we're creating new pathways of moving so that we can move through the world in new ways.
Mhm.
And so anytime that we're learning, it's so hard as an adult to to like challenge yourself in that way, like and not be good at something. Like I get that. Because I'm like imagining myself trying that. I'm like, oh gosh. But yeah, like it's so good for us though to get out of these habitual ways of moving and like move in new ways with tools and because we are literally rewiring and creating these new pathways of like how we desire to move through the world. So I love this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll speak on behalf of Mark's neural flooding technique. So Mark,
Mm.
my co-host for this retreat, Mark Wildman, he and I have been colleagues for probably about 15 years now with the clubs. And so we both have kind of pioneered our own like body of work with him with heavy clubs, mace and kettlebell, me with mostly with steel mace and then clubs as well. But he uses this technique called neural flooding, which he comes from Hollywood. So he's been training actors and actresses for fight scenes. And so when you're actually on set and you're like, jumping on top of a car and then jumping over a fence and then, like fighting the bad guy, like you have a series of all these like different decisions that you have to make really, really quickly, and you have to look sexy doing it. And so we joke around with our participants where we're like, we're literally just teaching you guys how to walk and look sexy and also hit stuff. But it is this like, we joke, like Mark's a big jokester. We make it fun, but it is like there's something that happens in transitions when you do the neural flooding and you cycle through those staff clubs mace every day for
Mm.
like 7 days. You can't even count how many decisions need to be made, but that's the neural flooding piece. Is you have to make the decision to one, show up, to do all the drills, and every time you do a staff fighting like 30-minute session, there's like probably 1,000 different decisions that you need to make to protect yourself, to strike, to keep your partner safe. And so through the process of this style of like neural flooding and teaching these modalities to everyday people with very little experience, sometimes coaches show up as well, but we've just seen people learn to really embody it. And you look at their practice a year later and you're like, oh yeah, I can tell you came to a retreat. I can tell you really like attempted to or starting to master the tools. Um,
Mm.
People walk differently. They do look sexy. They feel sexier. They feel
Yes.
capable and competent. They feel strong. And I just think that this is like kind of the new wave of yoga, is like really understanding the history of what it means to actually be a warrior. Like the warrior asana were actually used by warriors to train for battle. And I think
Mm.
sometimes in the Western world, like we think of yoga as like this peaceful thing, but it's like all of these standing warrior postures were actually used to protect oneself and to actually be able to defend oneself and to be able to attack an attacker, like somebody that's attacking you. So I love teaching the origins of the warrior poses because they're really
Mm.
like smart biomechanical positions to be able to protect yourself. But I'm curious, have you like examined much about the actual warrior poses themselves?
No, I want to know more, Summer. Yeah, you've got me intrigued for sure. I don't know this aspect of the history.
So the warrior one, so you're
Yeah,
here. So
yeah,
this is traditional warrior one. But if you are
right.
holding a staff or a mace and someone is striking you, straight down the middle, you want to have your center of gravity like low to the ground, so that you're less likely to fall over. So it's basically just the most optimal position to protect yourself. And then warrior two is a rotational, like we do a lot of like staff rotational drills where you're just moving. So you might be striking from the side and then overhead and then walking around, and you basically find yourself in warrior two. So we don't really
Mm,
talk about this stuff ever in like traditional vinyasa classes,
right.
but it's exciting. I just think it's like it makes me want to continue to study yoga and the origins of the warrior postures and just primal movement patterns. Like the things that make us human are striking, blocking, and throwing and lifting. Like the things that we have opposable thumbs for, all those things that make us human. That's all like in our DNA. There's like an ancestral memory and ancestral knowledge of these like primal movement patterns. And it's
Mm.
just really cool to see like people that have no yoga experience. You give them a staff and they know that they need to get their center of gravity low, and you just tell them to step back, and then they're like in a warrior one. So I get a
Amazing.
little excited about this stuff.
Okay, I love it. Well, I can't wait to practice with you.
Yeah.
It
So
sounds fun.
my final question for you is, let me pull up my notes here. It was about the retreat center itself. So we get a lot of
Yeah.
questions. People want to know kind of like what the energy is like, what the food's like. So what can guests expect as far as the facilities, the food, and the privacy at
Mm.
Danyasa Eco Retreat Center?
Yeah. Well, as I was saying, I mean, it's right in the heart of Dominical in this little, it's like on the main road, which is, yeah, there's not a lot going on. However, behind the walls, you have no idea that there's this whole like private sanctuary. And so we do have like 2 classes a day that is open to the public in the studio, but then the whole back of the whole property is all yours. So it's completely private to your group, exclusive. And as I shared, the rooms are all built from upcycled shipping containers. And I'm sure, yeah, you'll be able to see photos and videos as well. But we have like the shared suites with beautiful outdoor bathrooms and decks, and there's some privates as well. And then we have a beautiful sanctuary pool with waterfalls. And we have a big lounge space with different ways to sit and share your meals. So we have a beautiful chef that we bring in, and everything's really farm to table. I know your group is going to be even having grass fed. We have Costa Rica grass fed, which I actually just ate the most amazing burger from them. And yeah, fresh, locally caught fish every day, and it's just delicious. Everyone's always wanting like a recipe book by the time they leave. I'm like, okay, how do I eat like this at home? And yeah, so that's the space. And then, as I said, we're just a few minutes walk to the beach. And we have different amazing excursions. There's waterfalls you can go to, there's zip lining, surfing. So yeah, you'll decide what you want to add into this amazing retreat already and make it super special.
Yeah, so we've been working together, Sophia and her lovely assistant Amanda, who's been hosting a lot of just like meetings with me, but we've been organizing the food, the excursions. I think we have a waterfall excursion planned, and we have one more excursion planned, which we'll be releasing soon. We
Okay.
actually have not even released the website to the public. So if you're watching this video, there'll be a link down in the description to get on the wait list. And then we'll be releasing this to the public later this month, but you'll definitely want to get on the wait list because we're giving a special discount only to people on the wait list. And we're actually releasing the retreat to the people on the wait list about 48 hours before it goes public. And without any advertising at all, like literally just we have like a retreats tab for a couple other retreats that we're planning out, one in the US, and people have just like found the wait list somehow.
Oh, wow.
We already have 24 people on the wait list with like no like advertising. And we only have 20,
Amazing.
I think 20 to 24 spots. We're going to cap it at between 20 and 24. We haven't decided. I think that's the capacity. So yeah, we're super excited for the excursions, for the food, the extra protein, all the fruit, like just having like a private
Mhm.
facility. And we've worked around our schedule around the classes that happen, and we want our students to be able to come to go to some of those classes too. And then there's some days where we're just going to be out at the beach when the yoga happens at the studio. But super excited that there's an option for yoga that's not just me teaching, because then I could do a little yoga, which will be nice.
Yes,
And then
absolutely.
people can actually have some like recovery after all of the strength work that we do, because it's quite a vigorous training retreat.
I can imagine. Yeah, you're definitely going to want to just like lounge in the pool and go under the waterfalls there. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, and
Mm,
I know Mark wants to get a lot of footage. We're bringing our videographer, Jesper, out there.
yes.
It's awesome. He has a drone, so we're going to be getting like footage out on the beach, doing the hand-to-hand combat with the staffs out there, and just super excited to just be immersed in the combination of like changing the locations, being able to go to the beach for some training, and then being able to be undercover in the studio. It's just so
Yeah.
fun. I'm so pumped.
Yes, me too. It's amazing. You're gonna love it. And yeah, I'm excited to have your group. I'm sure you're gonna bring amazing people. Those of you that are listening now, yeah, it's gonna be so special. And to do it over New Year's as well. I mean, that's a really powerful time for people to just really feel into like, okay, what am I like letting go of in this past year? What am I calling in and like coming together in this way? So it's great.
So if you had anything to share with a participant that's like on the fence about coming to the retreat, like what would you tell them?
Mm, yeah. Well, ultimately, like feeling into what they truly desire, even actually like what I just said, like what is it that you want to really experience in your life? And, um, sometimes people are afraid of like flying to Costa Rica or coming here. But first of all, I will say that it's really easy to come here. A lot of solo travelers will come for the first time to Costa Rica, so we make it super easy. We pick you up from the airport. There's a shuttle bringing you all to Danyasa. It's about a 3 hour drive altogether. And yeah, it's like, if you're worried about the cost, thinking about what is it going to cost you to not have this experience. I like to think of it like that too, like to really have this like deep transformational experience. So if you're feeling the call, like, yeah, really feeling into what it would feel like on the other side, and like bringing that into your life.
It's going to be just friends, like people make friends that they train with for life, they stay in contact with. Like so many of my students have really just deeply immersed themselves. Like this is like a springboard for the rest of the training for like
Mm,
years to come. So I think you
absolutely.
definitely nailed it. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been such a pleasure interviewing you, and anyone watching, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. We've got a contact form on the website, and you can always reach me on my Instagram, Summer Huntington. Thanks everyone so much.
Amazing. Excited to meet you all.